Good day, everyone. Okay, so where we last left off. Wow. We had, okay, let me just drink some water again and get. Okay, so where we last left off, we saw that the scraper would just cycle through some pages, right? Some categories. So it will scrape the whole and then just continue to go and might get stuck in like an endless loop. So what we're going to do is rectify that. So this is our store scraper class on the left hand side. And I just want to make one change here on our Selenium scraper, what would I call this now? Our module, right? So I want to include the functionality of store and say is equals to store, right? And I'll explain that now, why I'm doing that. I should stop saying why I'm doing that is because once we are scraping, I want the scraper, depending on which store it is busy cycling through or looking at the moment, it will now choose which scraping logic it should use. All right, so that's just, I want to do that, edit that, and now we are now going to go and start working on our Selenium scrape. I mentioned before, and let me just wrap the screen. I mentioned before that all of this is not to, we have just one try and everything is happening inside of that. So we're going to fix all of that. We're also going to move away from, now I'm on the right-hand side, we're going to move away from the browser being automated where we see what is happening on the screen. We're going to move to a headless mode where we'll just see the information happening on our terminal, right? Or when I say information, I should just say rather the process happening on our terminal. All right, so let's start. Okay, cool. Okie dokie. Yeah. So I'm gonna create the create driver function, and it's not gonna take in anything and pass. But now, while we can press Control S to include some formatting there, and then some documentation. Well, okay, I'm saying to automate the scraping process, but there's a lot of Selenium is not just used, it's actually a I think it's web testing tool. It's a web automation testing tool, right? It's essentially used for scraping per se, but we can use it for scraping. So it doesn't take any parameters, but returns I'm gonna say WebDriver object. Okay. And again, please, if I can improve on my documentation strengths, you can comment and let me know. I think maybe I could wrap this into so this is the object type, WebDriver. And I'm saying an object, but if it was a classic or standard type, I would have wrapped it in braces. But in terms of WebDriver object, cool. So what we're going to do, we're going to initialize the web driver option, right? So the options in which we want to have our WebDriver run. So it's going to be WebDriver.Chrome options, which I have already imported on the top. And then I'm going to now set the modes that I want, or the options, set the modes or options. The WebDriver using service object. Okay. And to do that, I'm going to say options dot add argument, right? Argument and headless, right? Okay. And then, you know what? After that is done, I'm going to add the remaining 3. Okay. So this one, like I said, headless, we're not going to see that the browser pop up like it was before. This is going to disable all notifications that happen once you enter a website, right? Like a pop-up or notification, things like that, and information bars as well, and disable any extensions, right? Then I'm going to now define the path of the driver on our machine. Remember, this is on our machine right now. However, this would be put on a server and it will work the same way. You just got to tell it where it is and it will execute it. Okay. Once we're done with this, I think that'll be quite an interesting part of this project where we're deploying this on a server and we have in this, we automate it, or we, let me not say automate it, we schedule it to run weekly or something. Define service object, right? So now this is what I actually call the service object that I spoke about in line 20. And I'm going to say serve obj. It's going to be service, right? And it's going to take in our driver path. Then it's also going to take in the service arguments. Actually, let's not use that for now. Or why not? I want to show service ags, essentially, which is just a list of arguments to be passed to the subprocess when launching an executable. And I want to tell it the level of logging information that we want. And we just want that to be info, right? Just tell us what's the info. And we're not yet started with the logging. Right now, we're still using print statements. We'll get there. It's quite a long one. Driver. They're going to say driver is equals to WebDriver. Yes, dot Chrome. Yes, I'm going to say the service object that I want is the serve. Yeah, and I want the options to be equals to options, right? Remember, this is if you watch the fundamentals when you have when you're talking about functions, this is a keyword argument, and this is the object that you're actually passing to that keyword argument, right? So don't get confused. Okay. And we're going to return our driver, right? So that's that. Okay, so we've done that. Okay, that's that function. And this one says go to checkers next, but that'll be jumping. So let's go to, I'll get to woolworths. Okay. So then I'll show you how to do the, I think I've spoken about this in one of the previous videos. So I'll just keep this, and it's quite long, but yeah, you can follow along. Okay. So this is, I'll get woolworths URL. And so before we even get there, we now have to come here and decide how are we going to call it when we are saying URL scraper, right? So let's get to it. Okay, so remember we made a change before. I said store is a string. Okay, cool, and returns a list of URLs collected from the product category page. And okay, there we have our parameters. That's the first one. However, we have another one which is now stored, right? Store, which is a string, and determines which scraping logic function should be executed. All right, there we go. All right, so now I don't need this anymore. I don't need these anymore. Just remove those. And instead of here, I can just say creates driver, right? That's that, okay? Then we'll still keep all of that, keep all of that, keep all of that. Now, once we get here, right, we're gonna say, what we're gonna say, I'm gonna say, okay, if store, right, is equals to woolworths, and remember this has to equals the, it has to be the same string in the in our Excel sheet, right? So you have to be careful of that. If store is equals to product, then we say product URLs list, and I'm going to say get Woolworth URLs, okay? And then we say driver. Then we have another elif, and this is going to be fun. I'm going to show you now. And then I'm going to say if checkers, right? I know we have not yet done checkers, but I've already told you that we're going to do checkers. We're going to say product URLs list is equals to get checkers URLs. I think we actually did do checkers, but it failed. If I'm not mistaken. Did we get there? No, we couldn't get to checkers because we entered an endless loop there. All right, so we're going to say get checkers URL, and we say driver. And then what I was going to say is kind of fun. We're going to say return products that. Okay, and then if you notice, everything behind here is just gone gray, and that's because we don't need it anymore. Okay, we don't need you anymore. And we're just going to say, oh, okay, so that's our function now. That's that, right? So now we need these two functions. Okay, but we're going to work on these, and then so let's get to it. So since this is here, I need to define it somewhere above. Okay, so let us do that. Okay, so I'm just going to define something here. Say define get woolworths. I'm defining it because we also need driver, right? So let's do that here. Wool worth URLs, and it's going to take in a driver, and then that's that, and that's not how you spell worth, right? Worth. Okay, I'm going to say pass. Then okay, I'm just going to create a placeholder documentation. I'm going to say get. Actually, um, get list of product URLs from Woolworths online store, right? And okay, cool. So now let's try. So we will be using, let me just try and see how this would look like. Nope, let's not do that. Let's keep it this way. Cool. So first things first, find the number of results in the category page, right? So we're going to use a try and accept. So we're going to say find the items in this category, right? And it's doing it per category. So I'm going to say try, and I'm going to say product counts. Let's go to works. Works. Whoa. There. Woolworths. Cool. So product count, string, right? And that's equals to 1. Okay. Now I need to, just like before, I showed you this whole process of how we do this, right? So I'm going to inspect the page, and I am going to look for that CSS selector. So for that, it's this, right? Product counts, product records / counts, right? So that's that. And if you didn't want to use CSS selector, I just thought I should show you this. There's a way you can copy, and you can look for the X path for that, right? If you want to use an X path instead, but I'm not using that. So you say driver dot find elements, say just like before, by class name, right? And the class is product records and counts, right? And I want the text of it, right? Cool. Now, okay, so we're attempting to do that, and then exception as so except exception catch-all, right? As E or error. I'm gonna standardize a little bit. Print so this in my login would be something like an unexpected error occurred. That's how you spell occurred, right? While attempting to get product count string. And then we could now put in the error, right? Okay, so that's that. Now the try and accept also has another block, which is the else, right? So this means that the else runs if there was no error here. So this successfully ran, right? And we can now say, okay, well, now that we have that, you can say product count int, right? Now, how do I get if you look at this, this is a string, right? 205. I just want the first 3, right? I could say get the first 3 items. However, you saw with the pantries, they could be 1,637, they could be 10. We never know, right? So to do that, I have created another function, okay? Functions upon functions upon functions. Please stop me from creating functions, but let's continue. We're going to call it extract number from string, right? And it takes in a text. Oh, let's call it a string. And then, just like before, I'll just extracts the number from a string, right? And then, okay, after that, RE number pattern, when define the pattern. I'm not sure, have I spoken about how to use regular expressions? I did when we are trying to sanitize a category, all right? So we're just doing the same thing. Number RE pattern, right? And you could use this, right? So that's digits plus. However, I'm going to use this one. And right, and you're that between 0 and 9 plus, right? Okay. Just showing it out there, right? I learned the plus D recently. You could use that as well. Re.search, right? And that's not how you spell search. Okay, put in your number pattern and the string that you wanted to look for, right? And then you now say if it returns a match object, right? So if you find something, it's going to, where's RE? Okay, let me do that. Import RE. Cool. Cool. Pandas and these. Yes, cool. All right. So if it finds this pattern, right, it returns something. If it doesn't, it returns a none, right? So I'm just going to say if find something, return the int, right? And to get that string, it's a match object, and to get the string object, you'd say match object dot group, right? And it returns the string that it found, right? So it returns a string. And then since it returned my numbers in a string format, I'm just going to change it to an integer, right? Not a float. Gonna have a percentage of a product, right? So that's that. That's all I'm going to do. And if it doesn't find anything, then it's a none, right? So we move. Okay, so we will handle that actually. So if able to extract, right? So now I think I called it extract number from string, and I'm going to say product count string. Okay, I'm going to do that. We're going to say just let us know as this thing is running. The number, let's see, number of products found for this category, and then we're going to say product int. Okay. Just want to add something else. So if product count, let's say it's none, is equals to none, right? Remember, product count ends can return a none. If this is a none, it's just going to return nothing, right? If none, then we're just going to say set our product count to 500, like we have over here. Okay, so we're going to say product count int is equals to 500, and then we move on. We move on. Okay, all right. So we've done that. Now the next thing is to try to find the next page button. Okay, so I'm giving you a hint there what we're about to do. So we're gonna find the next page button. All right. So okay, so I'm gonna use a try and except in here as well, and also an else. So just like before, let me say, and let me put my try. Okay, so I'm gonna try and say next page button woolworths. I'm changing it from just before it was just this, right? But then if we have this next page button in several functions, right? I know what do you call it? Python has a way of dealing with scope where it looks at where the variable is being called, right, within that function. However, I don't want any issues. Something can happen. I'm just thinking about it, right? So if you have it in multiple areas, right, just like I have errors, which is kind of, but if you have it in multiple functions, right, if it doesn't find it in this function, it's going to look for it in the next function. And then I don't want any issues with that happening. So I'm just going to call this woolworths. Right? Okay. And then what are we going to do here? We're going to say driver dot find elements like before. And you can tell me, guess what we're going to write. So we're going to say by, yes, dot class name. Okay. And we're going to look for pagination nav. Right. Maybe I should have just copied instead of deleting that, but we've already gotten, right? So I want the second one, the first one, sorry. Okay. Try and find the first one. Okay. Try and find the next page button. If I find it, and then initialize the page counter variable. So not the first one, sorry. Should be the second one, remember? Because yeah, remember, because on the first page, there could be two. On the first page is one because previous is grayed out, right? But usually it's the second one. After the first page, it's the second one because previous is now there. Okay, and then after doing that, I'm going to have like except you're going to see me use another different exception. I'm going to say index error. All right, as error. Okay, so if we don't have a second one, right? Should I let inform the user? Actually, why not? Print f and index error occurred, and then yeah, error. All right, cool. And then now I know that. Okay, fine. Page button woolworths is equals to driver dot find. There's no need for me to type all of that again. I could just copy you. Great. And instead of, I'll just select that to be 0. And then if, however, that's not what we're getting, if it's not an index error, right, accept exception as a error. Okay. We'll just have to let the person know that, hey, sorry, bro. And unexpected error occurred. Trying to locate next page button, and then we let them know error. Okay, cool. So so now we'll exit the program there. So now